Hey guys, Jen here. Welcome to Live with Jen B, episode 6. Today is Pro Writer Mindset. So we're talking about Pro Writer Mindset. So welcome. So today I thought I would tell you about my absolute favorite question, a question that has seriously helped me to just get myself to a much more professional place with my writing career, with the way that I think about things, and with the action that I take on a daily basis. So that question is, what would a pro writer do? By asking this question, and I started doing this last year around May, like end of April, beginning of May, so right around a year ago, I just started asking myself every single day, what would a pro writer do? And I started doing this mostly with things like my habits, with, when I felt like I didn't want to do my writing, or when I felt like, this is just something I don't want to do right now, or I was getting stressed out because I wasn't doing the work. I actually started to come up again with this question that helped me to make the decision of what am I actually going to do. So the question is, what would a pro writer do? So when I would sit down and not feel like writing my blog post, I would say, okay, but what would a pro writer do? Well, a pro writer would write their blog post because a pro writer does the work. They do what it takes, because otherwise they're not going to be professional very long. And so because of that question and the answer that goes with it, I actually take the action and I do it. So by asking myself this has actually made a huge difference in not just the way that I think about things, but also in the actual actions that I'm taking, because I'm constantly asking myself, what would a pro writer do? Well, a pro writer would show up to the page every day even if they didn't feel like it. And a pro writer would finish, because that's what a pro writer does. And a pro writer would hit publish. They wouldn't just keep working on something for years and years and years and never getting it out there. So this question has actually just completely transformed my writing career and my business and so many other things. So I actually had bracelets made. So here's one of them. And it actually says, what would a pro writer do? So this is something that, I either wear it or I just have a pile of them sitting on my desk every day. And it just reminds me to keep thinking about that every time I get to a place where it's like I'm struggling, or I'm just not feeling like doing the work, or I have an off day where I want to just sleep all day and not do anything. I force myself into doing certain things like writing my blog post, working on my book or my novel, and just doing the other things and the other activities in my business that require me to be the professional writer that I need to be. And so I just ask myself, what would a pro writer do? So these bracelets I actually give out to people in my Bestselling Author Mastermind. So anyone in there who has one of these is asking themselves the same question, which is, what would a pro writer do? And not just asking the question. So I think that's the other important thing to keep in mind, is that you're not just asking the question and then not doing anything about it. You're asking the question, then whatever answer you come up with, you have to go do that thing right now. So it's like, I don't feel like writing today. I'm too lazy. I don't have time. Okay, but what would a pro writer do? Well, pro writer would go set the timer for 10 minutes and sit down and do their writing. Perfect. Okay. That's what you're going to go do. Now, what you don't want to do is ask yourself, what would a pro writer do? And then not do the thing that you come up with. So the answer may vary every day. So every day the answer isn't always the same thing for me, but it's definitely a question that I ask. And then the answer, will change based on what you have going on or anything like that. But I like to just trust the intuitive guidance that comes up. So if I say, what would a pro writer do in this moment? Whatever the first thing is that comes to my mind, that's what I do. So sometimes it's actually doing the writing. Other times it's other things I have to do. So like right now I have to go and set up an appointment to do my taxes, which I haven't done yet. And I'm like, less than 10 days away from having to do that. But I hate doing taxes. So I'm always keeping myself away from that stuff as much as possible. However, this week I've had to ask myself, what would a pro writer do when it comes to that? Because obviously if I'm not doing my taxes, I'm not acting like a pro writer, because a pro writer is going to stay on top of that shit because you have to. And so that allows me to know my next step. Hi, Heather. Welcome to the live stream. How do you balance your pro writer need versus what you need to do for your 10 to 12 hour job that pays your bills besides scheduling? Any other tips? Okay, so the whole thing with the pro writer stuff is that so when I had a day job, this was something that I wasn't nearly as organized and as focused, and I didn't have the mindset stuff going or anything like that. Unfortunately, I didn't get all of that till after I quit my job. But when I was doing my job, I would just look for where are places in my day where I can actually do my writing. So sometimes that meant on the park and ride bus. I would be working on my novel while I was riding the bus downtown to go to work. Or because I would always park my car at the lot and then I would take the bus because there's faster and it's just easier and all that. So when I was living in a big city, that's what I was doing. But the commute time actually gave me the opportunity to work on my stuff. Same thing in the afternoon. So on the way home, if I wasn't too tired, I will be honest, some days I definitely just passed out on the bus until I got to my stop. But most days I would try to work on something, whether it was just reading through something or working on something. The other thing was my lunch breaks. So just making sure that I was spending my lunch breaks, first of all, actually taking a lunch break. Because I think a lot of the times when we're working a job, we just think it's easier to work through lunch, not take the break, keep going, and you just stay at your desk. Well, that's bullshit, because you probably don't even care about the job you're doing anyway, or even if you do care about it, you still deserve a break. And so I highly, highly recommend that you take your lunch breaks every day. I used to have mine, so I had an hour, and I would do 30 minutes of actually eating lunch. So I would go out somewhere, grab some lunch, or I would go to the local grocery store and grab some food, and then I would take 30 minutes to just work on my writing. So sometimes that would mean taking my computer to the lunchroom and sitting, or sometimes I would just sit at my desk and work on some stuff and have my lunch at the same time. But I always made sure to take my lunch breaks for myself every day. So that was a huge time for me when I was getting my blog posts written, or I was working on other stuff related to my business or my books. And this was obviously when I didn't have the ability to work for myself full time. So I was squeezing it in where I could. And then of course, once I got home at night after I ate dinner and did all that stuff, like I would spend the next, 3-4 hours before I went to bed working on my writing stuff as much as I possibly could. So that was for me the best way to balance the needs. Now, something that I never did, but I would highly recommend doing, and I wish that at the time I could have done it. It's just that it was just not something I made happen. But now it's something that I do, and that is, first of all, making your mornings a non-negotiable time for you to actually get some stuff done. So that might mean getting up a little bit earlier, or it might mean going to bed earlier so you can get up earlier. But even just like an extra 30 minutes in the morning could make a huge difference, and to just really give yourself some focus time. So like when I wanted to start journaling every day, I actually forced myself to get up 10 minutes earlier so that I would get up and I would literally go. I had a huge like walk-in closet at my house that I used to live in. And so I would get up and I would go sit in my closet and sit on the floor, and I would just journal for 10 minutes until I had to get ready for work. And so that was the biggest way for me to just get something into my day before I had all the chaos of my day sort of getting in my way. So for me, it's really just about squeezing time in wherever you can. So weekends were huge, obviously, for me for getting stuff done, mostly Sundays, because Saturdays can sort of be one of those days where you just end up doing other stuff. But if not, Saturday was another good day. But that's really what it is. I mean, especially if you're working a job, like you have to just keep your priorities in mind. You have to just know the most important things you should do every day. So sometimes you may just have to look at it like that. Okay, what are the top 3 things that I should do every day that would move the needle in my writing career, my writing life? What are those 3 things? Write them down. And then when you have them, make it a non-negotiable to do them every day, even if you're not doing them right away. But if you get them done by the time you go to bed, then you're going to feel better, and you're actually going to see progress because you've made the commitment to doing those 3 things every day, even if they're not happening all at the same time. So if you're working a job, it's hard to make things happen maybe first thing in the morning because you're running around. Maybe you can't get up early enough. I know, because that used to be my excuse all the time. I can't get up early. I'm too tired. I go to bed too late, blah, blah, blah. So I would just use whatever little pockets of time I could find in my day. And when I was done with my work, if I had nothing else to do, which is mostly the case, then sometimes I would also work on my writing. I would step away for a little while or go to the coffee shop or something, but just work on my stuff. That might not be a possibility for everybody, but it's an option as well. So just really looking at the most important things. Now, if I had done this back when I actually had a day job and I said to myself, what are the most important things I need to do every day? Well, that would have been for me writing a blog post. It would have been working on my fiction, non-negotiable, working on my fiction. And the third thing would probably have been something to do with marketing. So maybe some sort of like messaging or, promoting a book that I had written or something like that. So those 3 activities every single day would have made huge progress for me when I was working a day job. Unfortunately, I didn't think like that back then, so I didn't have the capacity to do things like that because that's not how my mind was thinking. Now, my mind thinks in a professional way every single day. I'm always asking myself, what would a pro writer do? How can I do this better? Am I? And really, I'm always looking at my habits and stuff too on a daily basis, even stuff I've been doing for a while, but I'm always asking myself, is this still working? Is this still feeling on track? Like, is there something better I should be doing or something I could tweak? So, my habits and stuff are always changing as I kind of roll through my days and figure out what works best for me for actually getting stuff done. So now what I do, first thing in the morning, I get up, I take my dog for a walk, I give him food or whatever, and then it's journaling and mindset work. Then right after that, it's writing my blog post. Then right after that, it's working on my fiction or other book projects. So if it's always fiction. So even if I'm, not writing a novel at the time, I'll do something related to my fiction and then something related to a nonfiction book project, because I mostly have both of those going on at the same time. And then after that, it's, like fitness and things like promotion activities. So working on, promoting a workshop if I have a workshop going on, or promoting my books if I have that. So just looking at activities like that. And those are the things I do first thing in the morning before I do anything else. And I talked about this in my live stream last week, but I don't check Facebook. I don't check email. I don't do anything I don't even talk to people if I can help it first thing in the morning. So usually I get away with it. Some days not, but most of the time I don't have to talk to anybody. I just do my thing, get it done. And usually by 11 a.m., noon, I'm done with that stuff. So even though I still have a ton more stuff to do, because, especially as a owner of a writing business, it never just ends. There's never going to be an ending point where you're like, oh, I have no work to do. No, that never happens, and it never will. But if you get the most important stuff done every day and it gets done first, then that's awesome, because now you have the rest of the day. And to me, it's like anything else I do after that is a bonus. So the whole, what would a pro writer do has really helped me to get into alignment with this stuff. So before, when I wasn't thinking that way, when I wasn't asking myself that question every day, I was actually not doing the things that I'm doing now. So now that I'm asking myself that question, and now that I'm actually, making it a priority to pay attention to the answer, I'm like, well, what would a pro writer do? Well, a few months ago, I asked myself that, and it was like, well, a pro writer would be doing these same activities every single day, first thing before they do anything else. And so that's what I started doing. And so now it's become a habit, because it's been like a month and a half at this point. So I still feel like it's new, and I wouldn't just assume it's a habit. I keep going every day anyway. And so when I don't feel like it, I just force myself to do it anyway, because I know the second I sit down and get going, that it's all going to be fine. It's just I'm resisting sitting down to do it. So I just do that. When I'm in the most resistance, though, is when this comes in handy the most, which is, I want to lay on the couch, I want to watch Netflix when I know I have a book to write or I've got other stuff going on. Well, this is the way to do it then, is ask myself, what would a pro writer do? Well, a pro writer is not going to choose Netflix over working on their novel, or it's not going to choose, laying on the couch doing nothing over actually doing the work that's going to get them where they want to go. So by asking the question, it helps to reframe the choice that I'm making, and of course, make it more of a choice aligned with the goals that I have. So that is the number one question that I think writers need to ask themselves on a consistent basis every day if possible. And, just constantly reminding yourself, this is how a pro writer acts. This is how a pro writer thinks. This is what a pro writer does every day. Now, pro writer is sort of a general term, so it's really going to be dependent on you as a writer and what is going to be the best thing for you. So like a fiction writer might do slightly different things than a nonfiction writer, but mostly it's going to be the same. So it's really just a question of what are your goals, and then what do you need to do to actually make them happen. So some days it's, okay, I know that I have to take these steps because I've got a project going on and I know I need to finish it. Other days, if you don't have a project going on yet, it might be, okay, what's my next project? So some days, if I don't have a book project, which is pretty rare now, but when that happens, I'll actually brainstorm some new ideas, because a pro writer doesn't just sit around waiting for the next book idea to hit them. A pro writer finds the next book idea by pulling it out of themselves. So that's what I do. Laziness versus needing a mental break. How do you know the difference? Well, okay, so I would say for me, I know I'm being lazy if I haven't done my first things first stuff that I just mentioned. So I know that if I decide I want to lay on the couch and do nothing and none of that stuff got done yet today, then that's laziness. However, if I'm finding that that stuff got done, so I wrote my book, I worked on my blog post, I did all the stuff I need to do, and then I'm just feeling tired or something, then I know, okay, well, I did the most important stuff today. So even if nothing else got done, that stuff still got done, and that's the stuff that moves the needle in my writing career, my writing business, whatever you want to call it. So for that reason, I'm able to kind of decipher it. Now, I will say it takes some practice, because at first it's easy to see certain things as laziness when it's really not. And it's easy to see certain things as, oh, I just need a mental break, but really you're just being lazy and making excuses. So I think it's going to take some practice to sort of just see how you go and sort of what happens for you. But for me, I just know when I have a book project, especially as I'm coming closer to the end of it, I will start resisting more and I will start making more excuses. And so I have to force myself to do the first things first stuff. And so that helps me to just, again, it's non-negotiable. So I can't argue with it and I can't talk myself out of it, because it's something that I've just said, this is what I'm committed to. So I don't know. Again, it's kind of a judgment call as far as your own self. Like, ask yourself, when you're feeling tired, you need a break, ask yourself, did I do anything today that would actually move the needle in my writing career, my writing business? And if you have, then okay, maybe you do actually need a mental break. Or if you haven't, then I would say you're probably just being lazy. So everybody does it. Don't worry. I'm absolutely, I used to be the queen procrastinator. I was the most lazy writer you've ever met in your life. But now I don't do that anymore because, right here, what would a pro writer do? That's why. Because a pro writer isn't going to make excuses. I mean, not to say that never happens, obviously, because some people just, you are always going to make excuses at some point. It happens to everybody. But the difference is an amateur would feel like not writing and they just wouldn't write. Where a pro writer would feel like not writing and they would write anyways because that's what a pro writer does. So that's the other difference, is just knowing, how are you acting right now? Am I acting like the pro that I want to be? And we talked about this in the live stream last week about stepping into the identity of the writer and author that you want to be. So it's like, well, am I doing that right now? Or am I making excuses? Am I being lazy? And so again, it's a judgment call, but I think pretty much we can tell the difference. We can tell the difference between when we're actually being productive and we're actually doing something, and then when we're just being freaking lazy. So that would be my answer to that question. But good question, because I think a lot of people probably wonder that same thing. A lot of the times, like, I'll be working really late at night and it's like 1, 2 in the morning, and I know like I should keep going because I have more stuff to do, but my brain is just like, I am fried, I am done, And so in that case, even though I know I have more stuff to do, and even though I know I probably didn't get everything done that could have been, as long as I got the most important things done, which again, always gets done no matter what, because I won't do anything else until it does, then from there, I just allow myself the break, because it's like, hey, I've clearly done a lot today. Now, if I'm a lazy day and I literally just sit around all day and do nothing, then at night when I feel like I'm tired, I don't want to do anything, I just want to lay on the couch and watch Netflix. No, not happening, because I did that all day. So that's me. I have to kick my ass a little bit about that stuff, because if I don't, I will just be lazy and watch Netflix all day, because I love watching movies. It's one of my favorite things to do, not just because I love movies, but also because I like to break the structure down and just pay attention to the plot points and the character arc and all that stuff. So I find it sort of like a fun study aid, but it's also obviously a way to just have some downtime. But I have to be careful about that stuff, because I definitely am a big movie buff. So it sometimes does take my attention away, especially at night when I just like want to be like everybody else who has a day job and like can come home from work and just veg. Like, I don't get to do that because I don't have a day job. I work for myself, so there's always stuff to do. And so for that reason, again, it's a judgment call. It's just to say, I did enough today, I'm proud of myself, I'm good with it, or let me just do a couple more things or one more thing and then give myself the break. All right, so I am going to wrap this up. If anyone has any other questions, just put them in the comments, or if you're watching this as a replay, and I will be happy to check back later today on that. If you haven't done this yet, get a Post-it out. So grab a Post-it or a piece of paper and just write on it, what would a pro writer do? And then hang it by your writing space, put it on your computer, stick it on your desk, whatever you have to do, but use it as a reminder for yourself to start taking the actions and to think the way a pro writer would. And really use this as a question that's going to help you to determine what you need to be doing every day. So what would a pro writer do? Whatever answer comes up, that's what you do. And if you like the idea of having a bracelet like this and you want somebody who can motivate you and kick your ass to actually do the stuff that a pro writer would do, then just stick around, go to my website and check out my email list, because I'm going to be opening the doors to the Best-Selling Author Mastermind in a couple of days, and you'll be able to get in and also get one of these cool bracelets on top of that. So jenniferblanchard.net to just check out my website and get on my email list, and I will catch you guys tomorrow. Bye.